Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We contacted on Twitter. No, email podtendo at gmail.com, or check us out on YouTube. Our YouTube page, if you leave some comments on our videos, we'll definitely get a hold of you guys there. Those are the best places to get a hold of you. We are a pop culture, let's play, retrospective review show. So you're going to get a little bit of all four of those elements today, while you're joined by your two hosts of Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast. I'm your co-host Mick, and I'm joined every episode by lovely and talented co-host
Tyson.
Cool, we did it.
Yes. We're playing a little fun game this week, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're playing a great game this week. We're playing. There's no apparently banter. We just get right into it with Mystical Ninja starring Goman. It is a good one. It is a classic. I don't know why this game isn't talked about more. I really like this game.
Me too. And that's kind of why I want to get into it, because I'm like, I know we're going to ramble about this game. Because this game, I don't know how we came across this, but it's such a amazing little experience.
How is it living your life not remembering every single element of your life? Is it fun? Is it blissful? Does it feel fulfilling?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay,
I remember stuff, but a lot of things become hazy, because I feel like so you know what? Because I'm assuming we're going to get into our first memories here.
No, not today. I cut that segment from the show. As I do, I often edit and change our format over the years. So this was one of the edits. No, of course we're doing first memories in a little bit.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll go first, and then I'll see if I can get close to what we're saying, and I'll close my notes until then.
Okay, awesome. So as Tyson alluded to, we'll talk about how this game came into our lives. And I have this weird, annoying thing where I have like an eidetic memory, and I remember everything that's ever happened to me. So you'd think I would learn more from my mistakes, but no, still make the same ones. So there you go. So without that further ado, we'll get into it in a little bit. But first, we have to look at Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon for the Nintendo 64. One of the hidden gems on the N64. Maybe we'll talk about rankings, where we'd put this in the Pantheon at some point. That's an idea. We could definitely make a YouTube video at some point, like we said we were going to, and then just never did. Maybe we just make it at the end of the year.
We might save it to the end of the year.
Yeah.
It might be a fun little event for that.
Yeah, I maybe doing a tiers list and like a year-end recap. They go to get hand in hand. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. Cool. So with that, it was developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Osaka. It sold under 1 million copies. That's sad. Release date was April 16th, 1998. Ooh, that was almost, quick math in my head, 26 years ago from when we were actually recording this. So we're recording it a little bit in advance, but 26-year-old game. Crazy. How long to beat this game? 10 hours. eBay, a copy of this game is going to cost $140. Do you still have that physical copy that I bought a couple years ago?
Yes, I do.
Yeah!
Of course I do.
All right, eShop price. It's not available anywhere, so you kind of have to stream it. Or buy a copy on Kijiji like 10 years ago for $20. Good investment. Where to play N64 or an emulator. Kind of a shame. It's a good game. Should be like an N64 online thing, Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, this is a weird franchise, because I guess there was even games on like the PlayStation eventually for this,
sure.
Which maybe that's why this is one of those franchises that whoever owns the rights to this thing might be sharing them with Nintendo and PlayStation. So
It'd be Konami. In terms of game development, we could look at the series at some future date. I didn't look at that today, but this is this is like the 6th or 7th game in the Goemon series, right? We played Mystical Ninja for the Super Nintendo a couple years ago as a precursor to getting into this, and you definitely see shades of the elements and a little bit of the platforming and the bosses, and this is just this Super Nintendo game in 3D.
Yeah, yeah. And boy, howdy, is it fun.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I'm glad we both had a good time, but we have to do some housekeeping. So let's do Wayback Machine development details. I guess we have to get through the controls. We could talk along the way, and then once we hit kind of first memories, it's all downhill from there. So a little bit of setup, a little bit of the bureaucracy that we like to start off with this show, and go from there. But so what we have to do is we have to jump into our patented Wayback Machine, which is our time travel machine, and travel back, or decide if we want to travel back to April 16th, 1998. We start out by looking at our favorite show, The Simpsons. We're in season 9, episode 20, The Trouble with Trillions. After running afoul of the IRA, Homer is tasked at recovering a stolen bill from Mr. Burns.
Oh, okay. It's not a bad episode. Not a bad episode.
Sure, it gets you there. Anywhere like classic Mr. Burns. It's great. He's hilarious.
No, he's like this is peak Burns. So maybe a little bit overused at this point, but I'm still really enjoying it. That's a great episode.
Very, very nice. Other TV shows you could be watching this time are The Challenge, Charmed, Sex and the City, and Dawson's Creek.
Probably not watching any of those.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. Even now, like, I have no interest in almost any of those shows. Top cartoon shows we could watch are Bob the Builder, started this year, Celebrity Deathmatch, Roly Poly Oly, Cat Dog, Godzilla the series, and Hysteria.
Oh, okay. Not a super strong mix of stuff, but some gems in there.
I think it's just like
kind of like the Godzilla one. Hysteria is not bad. Yeah.
I would not go to bat for any of these. Early Nickelodeon's Cat Dog. I don't know. Maybe that gets you there.
Yeah, that was the other one I was thinking.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm like, yeah, I probably could do without some of this stuff. Movies that came out. So this week you could have seen City of Angels. I have no reference to that. I would guess it's Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. Oh, and Lost.
John Travolta and
Meg Ryan.
No idea. Meg Ryan.
All right. Well, now we have to look it up. Is it John Travolta or Nicolas Cage? And Lost in Space. So again, we're like, oh, this is nothing great.
Yeah, that's meh. Oh, you're right. It is Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. Good for you.
Nice. Awesome. You're thinking of Michael with John Travolta as I...
Ah, yes. Well, I see a picture, a box art of him pointing.
Yeah.
For some reason.
All right. So, good old Nick Cage. Good, bad? We're not sure. He might be in bad movies, but he never gives a bad performance. Nicolas Cage. And, so still in theaters, you could see Everest. Okay, remember when everyone was all big into climbing mountains?
Yeah, that was a big movie trend.
U.S. Marshals, Wild Things, and if you waited a week or two, you could see Deep Impact or Godzilla.
Okay. Maybe that explains why I don't mind Godzilla, because I was like, look at these other movies that came out around this time. Godzilla's the best one.
As a prepubescent boy, Wild Things does nothing for me. In a couple of years, it might be my favorite movie. So
potentially. All
right, cool. And then finally, top video game. So released in April 1998, we saw Shining Force 3 Scenario 2, Target Children of God. That's one game. I had to make that note. So Shining Force 3 Scenario 2 Target Child of God. All right. Bomberman Heroes and GT 64 Championship Edition. Oh, man, we should definitely play Bomberman 64 at some point.
Yeah, and maybe lump in the sequel.
Do you think it's worthwhile doing? I say we do Bomberman, see how that goes, and then I don't know, maybe do the sequel as like a follow-up.
Yeah, well, it could be Back Control, so maybe just signing up for one and seeing how it goes. Dip your toe in before jumping feet first.
Yes, I think we have to, and we've talked about this. Ambition is sometimes the death of creation, and oftentimes we're too ambitious. So I think at this point, just Bomberman 64, and then we'll take everything else after that. So at some point, we should hit that game. That might be a good game. And 64 has a cute little place in my heart. I love their art design, the graphics, the design, the character models. The 64 really hold a special place in my heart. And Bomberman just happens to be one of those ones I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that being cute. tough as balls.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you how to beat it. Remember being very challenged as a child, but oh boy, getting those like
I feel
super
like it was
bombs.
more of a puzzle game. So like now in the age of like guides and walkthroughs, I'm like, I bet you this is so easy, and we're just dumb kids because we didn't know that like you're supposed to like bounce bombs in a certain way.
And
Now
I
you
think
just watch somebody do it and save state it.
And
So
sometimes
like,
it's supposed to be like as simple as like blow up this wall, it opens a door, and then leave. But like, what about all those other things? Like, you get them later. They're like all meant as red herrings. You're like, okay, all right. So that is the Wayback Machine. So that's what April 1998 looked like. Is that a time I want to travel back to? No.
nah, I can still play the good games of that era and just sit on my couch, so it's fine.
And I already have the City of Angels soundtrack in my CD player. So if I want to listen to some Goo Goo Dolls Iris, I don't even need to watch the movie. All right, and development details. All right, so of this fun game, it was first titled Gambari Goemon 5, then Legend of the Mystical Ninja. The Japanese producers wished to break the series' numerical naming pattern to stress that Mystical Ninja differs from its forefathers. Konami released many renders of Goemon posing and making faces for magazine previews. Konami targeted children. Well, that's not. Hopefully, the rest of the sentence goes better than I think it is. Among whom the series is popular in Japan by scheduling appearances of Goemon mascots at some elementary school gymnasium sessions. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. That's so funny. It's like, this marketing did work. We did pick this up and play this as a kid or as kids.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, again, imagine in Japan, if you look at the series, maybe at some point, some one of us can go into Wikipedia and see how many Goemon games there are, but obviously a much bigger franchise in Japan, and we've only seen a couple examples, right? There was 264 games, there was a Super Nintendo game, and I don't even know if the other Goemon games were released on the PlayStation in North America, so...
yeah, I have no idea. Kind
of one of those cool, like, time capsules. Like, I remember when... I actually just heard a discussion about this. Like, back in the day, actors used to go overseas, and at one point it was found out like Tommy Lee Jones had been starring in Japanese commercials for the last like 25 years because they pay decent. Yeah. And it's like a one day of work and you get a free trip to Japan. And everyone's like, they were shocked and appalled. And now Jennifer Aniston's just out there being like, hey, is your guys' buttholes need bleaching? I recommend this product. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess it's just normal to do commercials now. Cool, awesome.
Yes. Well, is that the whole like kind of plot of Lost in Translation? He's an actor that goes over there, then he just doesn't leave because it's so lucrative.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's funny that back in the day, like now, everything is so fluent with the use of the internet. Before that, there was actually a divide. It felt like the world was much bigger. It is. Thankfully, the internet has made the world much smaller, for good and bad. For lots of bad. So much bad.
Yes. But there's some funny memes out there, so maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, probably worth it. All right, so the game's later success prompted the production of an animated television show. To go? Mystical Ninja featured a cartridge size of 128 megabytes, designed to be a much larger than its peers and predecessors' games to allow higher quality music numbers and voice sampling. Damn right, there's some catchy musical numbers. God damn.
Oh my goodness, the soundtrack! Holy damn, it's so good.
Oh, it's incredible. Lots of times in this podcast, I will play games and I'll do something else. I'll be listening to a podcast. I have it on silent. I'm watching television. I'm playing a game, so I don't ever really listen to it. This was one of the ones where, because it isn't available digitally, I had to pull up my big TV, put my couch in front of it, turn it on, and I did always keep the volume on 5 because there was a couple times some of these dungeon tracks. Oh, baby, do they rock. And, like, when you call Impact, oh, baby, does that song rock. And you turn on the game and you get your Gambaya Soka. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to listen to this whole thing before I start playing today. It's just incredible, awesome use of music. And something we don't really talk about so we don't really actually have a segment for this show. So it seems like a solid time to talk about music.
100%. And that's like, even sometimes like, plasma guy who yells plasma. Like, I love this stuff. It's so funny. The characters are so creative. This, like, the soundtrack just really brings this game to life. It's so fun. Like, I am the same way. I usually listen to podcasts or watch TV or do whatever. This was one of those times where it's like, nah, I'm enjoying this. It's like I might even add like a YouTube mix or something. Just like listen to this for every once in a
Oh,
while, or like a work day.
this one, and I think it is just quality of music because again, it's not like a super nostalgic thing. I know we rented this. We'll get into it in just a couple sections here, right? But I know we've rented it a couple times. We never owned it. It wasn't until I found it on Kijiji a couple years ago that I've ever had a physical copy of this game, right? So it wasn't like it was ingrained. It's just soundtrack is banging. This is up there in terms of like Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of those soundtracks where I'm like, yeah, if there was like a physical copy or something and you could like I'd buy it. Apparently it is really hard to find. I as part of my research for doing the show, I watched a lot of oh, I guess we could get into that at some point too, like the level of coverage that this game just doesn't have on American YouTube, right? Not a lot of people are talking about this, especially recently, right? So we're kind of at that level of N64 games, but one of the guys did mention that when he was in Japan recently or a couple years ago, he found it was like $400 for just like the physical release of the soundtrack. So it's available. It's just rare, but probably worth it. But like Tyson said, probably worth it. Like throw on a YouTube playlist or something like that.
Oh, for sure. And there's some songs that I totally forgot about. And then like replaying this, it was like, oh man, this song, and just like it's every song it hits so hard. It's so amazing. I love it. Yeah. So
solid. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I don't know what we're gonna play at the end. You might get a whole Impact song. Just love that guy. That's great. Many magazines gave the game favorable reviews while it was still in development, and the game sold 55,000 units in America and 141,000 units in Japan. So not the highest selling game, which is a shame because this game is delightful.
yeah, and like those are pretty small numbers, hence why the games are
Yeah.
probably worth a pretty penny right now. And there's no hope of it being revived. So, yeah. And it's a shame because this is a real gem. I wish more people would kind of get their hands on it because I feel like if this game was a bit more well known, there would be a pretty big cult following because this game just does all the things right. There's a few like clunky mechanics or whatever, but I know I'm showing my hands early. It's like, but I really enjoyed this game. I finished this game so quickly, and it was like I didn't really struggle or like have too much issues. It was just solid.
Yeah.
I would so
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that ends our review. Cultural significance. We'll get out of here.
yeah.
So funny. So funny. No. We're going to go into much more painful detail. So if you're a little sad and you're looking forward to us talking more, oh, baby, we're going to talk more. First of all, we're going to look at the controls. So this game is a 3D action platformer. A jumps, B uses weapon. The joystick moves your character around the screen. You can play as one of 4 characters, each with different weapons and skill sets. We have Goemon. He has a chain or a pipe, a chain claw, and coins that eventually can be upgraded to fire coins. His sidekick, Abitsumaru, he has a hammer. He can be shrunk. He gets a camera that can reveal ghosts, and he also gets a meat hammer, so you can turn, when you hit enemies with it, it becomes little dumplings to restore your health. We have Yai. Wait, do you like Goemon Ibitsumaru?
Yep. No, they're great characters.
Okay.
I like the whole gang. I didn't really use Abitsumaru so much, but
They play a little differently. Goemon seems like he's kind of the Mario, the well-balanced. Abitsumaru, he might be a bit faster, but I don't think his jump is as high.
yeah, but he does have some funny like waiting around animations or idle animations. He's quite the character. Or him like crawling and like even them like crawling around on the ground has so much like just their little faces that they make. It's so cute and adorable, and it's fun to play because we don't really get Yai. We get her pretty quickly, but we don't get her super early.
Within the first hour of the game, you definitely have her because it's after the first impact fight, right? So,
right.
Yeah, he comes with a katana, so she's a female secret ninja or something like that, secret ancient ninja. At some point, you get a dragon flute, so she's kind of your fast travel. She gets a bazooka towards the end of the game, which is completely useless. I don't think I used it ever once to like hit anything other than shooting it a couple times at a wall. And she turns into a mermaid. That's kind of her special power that she gets, and helps you explore a lot of the whole game. Right, you can go back to like the second dungeon and start finding unlockables when you unlock that. And then finally, our last guy is Sasuke. He's a little robotic ninja. He has some size. He has some throwing daggers. He has bombs. and his magical ability is he has super jump. That's what he does.
Yep, yep. And like his kind of looks like a little jetpack thing, but it's sweet. It's sweet. He's a good character. I like all these characters. I think they're a lot of fun. I remember playing as a kid, I would always play Sasuke on, I think, Great Goemon's adventure, because you can just choose any of them right off the bat.
Yes.
So.
All right. Soft spot for little Sasuke. Yeah. For some reason, me too. It was like a fight to see who could be Sasuke. He seemed like the coolest guy. He was small. He was a ninja. When he did something crazy was going to happen. So, fun little
Great
cast.
haircut.
Once you unlock everyone, you can kind of play with them forever. So we'll get into kind of when they come into play when we look at our level notes. You adventure through Japanese towns, the countryside, through forests, beaches, tunnels, and dungeons. There are several occasions where you take control of a giant mech impact. I would recommend pulling up a move guide before attempting to get into an impact segment. It's pretty much impossible if you're just using punches, but if you know the combos, super easy to do and make the battles way, way simpler. And this game owes a lot to Ocarina of Time. Wait, you can collect cats to fill up your heart gauge and collect keys in dungeons. Didn't this game kind of be developed before Ocarina of Time and was released before it? So I don't know if this game owes anything to Ocarina of Time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of Mario 64 vibes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mix of Mario 64 and Zelda.
Yeah, and with an adorable Japanese aesthetic, and
that's it. Yeah, cute feudal Japan aesthetic. That's probably similar in length to Wind Waker, or not? Majora's Mask, ish.
Yeah,
about 4 dungeons.
I would say like basically only 4, not a whole lot of. You can do some backtracking, and it's got a whole little world to explore. But essentially, it's like village, open field, dungeon.
Yeah. And actually, it's one of the things I was kicking myself for not talking about in the Wind Waker. We were kind of like, this game's like kind of fast. It's about the same length as Majora's Mask, a reputable, well-liked N64 game. So if anything is about Majora's Mask length, like Mystical Ninja or Wind Waker, it's competent. It's fine. It doesn't need to be a big, epic, long, 20-dungeon game. Make your money.
Right. I appreciate games that don't stretch on for like 80 hours and you're still not done it.
Like this is one of those games.
You Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Like I'm not going to play it again. I'm not going to go out of my way and play Mystical Ninja tomorrow. Next year though, I might be like, I'd replay that. Cool. Same with Majora's Mask. Every once in a while, like maybe once a year, I'm like, I'd play through Majora's Mask. Ocarina of Time, it's probably less, or it's probably like more distance between, because I know it's a bit longer of an experience, but that's kind of what you're getting with here, or even Wind Waker, right? Wind Waker and Majora's Mask are very, very similar, and something I didn't talk about, so we'll have to talk about it later.
Yeah, later.
Okay, cool.
Later, we'll save those thoughts.
All right, cool.
Pin it for later.
Let's get into what Tyson alluded to off the top, and he was going to tell us about everything he remembered. He didn't remember anything. Let's look at our first memories of Mystical Ninja. So Tyson, what is your first memories of Mystical Ninja?
Something to do with Blockbuster.
Okay.
Either I thought that like maybe we had bought this game from Blockbuster, but I don't think that that's correct. We probably just rented it. And you said kind of earlier, it's like we didn't own this until you got it on Kijiji. I was like, so we only ever rented this game, but it kind of makes sense because I feel like we only owned Great Goemon.
Yes. Which seemed like the inferior title. So that is a side-scrolling sequel to this adventure on the N64, similar to what you got in the other entries in the series. You'd see on like the PlayStation, right? So this 3D action adventure game that we have here is kind of the only one in the series, right? It's kind of the outlier. The rest are more side-scrollers. So that's the one we had. This always seemed like it was a bit bigger of a deal. It had bigger musical numbers. Yeah, I think what happened was I had a friend that either rented or owned this game, told me about this crazy Japanese ninja game that he had started playing. Intrigued, I went for a sleepover and did nothing but play this game in his bedroom. Right. Oddly enough, I feel like this was around the same time that we also played South Park 64 and Pokemon Snap. So, and I don't think we're under an evil curse, because Mega Man 64 was also in this rotation. Okay, cool. So the fact that we
makes sense.
Almost
we were doing Blockbuster runs. This must have been peak Blockbuster.
No, this is like the same friend that I went for sleepovers over the course of multiple like weeks during whenever the Togepi saga like Togepi hatched in
Oh,
Pokemon
okay.
anime. So I was going to his house. We'd watch the Pokemon. It was coming out like once or twice a week, and I think for probably like 5 or 6 weeks in a row ish. Like I was probably at his house for at least 4 of them to watch kind of the Pokemon. He'd like record the episodes I'd missed. We'd recap those, stay for Sunday, then get picked up. And I literally think it was probably around the same time where it was like South Park 64, Snap, Mega Man 64, and Mystical Ninja. And I think those were like the games we played. So within like a course of my about 2 months of my life as a child, uh, we played through almost those games in succession. So weird that now, 26 years later, we're coming back and we hit Mario 64, Pokemon Snap, Mystical Ninja.
That is very weird. But,
Yeah.
I mean, especially considering I haven't really revisited this game too much in that time frame. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
come back to it twice, once on the emulator and then once on the physical copy. And I get to about the same point. I think I can kind of beat the like impact fight or something, and then I save and then never come back to it, right? So, but it's just that motivation to be like, there's so much going on. And I maybe always knew I was going to be playing on the podcast, which is one of the reasons I don't go back and play a lot of games for the first time new, right? I'm like, I'll save this experience to share with you. So I think I started a new file. Then we played on this file for a bit. It was a great Friday, pizza night, video games, Saturday morning, cartoons, big breakfast, cartoons, and more gaming until Mom came to pick me up. Or maybe I stayed on the Saturday and watched the Pokemon on the Sunday. We rented it afterwards, and we actually completed it. So I don't know if we had a strategy guide, but I do recall having a map of the submarine dungeon. So more than likely, maybe we had some Nintendo powers that kind of came to the rescue and had like a guide there. And then again, I played this a few summers ago, the same one where I played Pokemon Snap. So I must have just got my N64, hacked cart going at that point. So that was my kind of last entry into this experience.
Very nice.
Yeah, we played it at like Lee and Dean's house. We went for a sleepover, and I remember turning it on and like them both being like, "Oh, this game, this crazy Japanese song at the beginning is almost a turn off." And we beat the submarine dungeon at their house.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I remember we were all we all got into it eventually.
well, at one point it just kind of was like Japanese anime, and his kids were like, "They have Nintendos," so we were kind of all about that. So this fit right into that cultural line, that kind of what we were going for, right? It kind of hit a lot of our itches. So I think that's my first memories of this game.
Nice. Nice.
Cool.
You definitely remember it a lot better than I do.
Yeah, you're kind of just like gray. You're like, I don't know. Maybe I was shorter then. Couldn't tell you. And I was like, well, I knew I was exactly 5'9" at that point because I'd measured myself earlier that morning before we went to town.
Yes. And then that breakfast I had, Captain Crunch and eggs and toast. No, wait, actually, that was a cheesy sandwich.
No,
So
it was like homemade like deer sausage or something like that because like they were a hunting family. So you go there and you get like these deer sausages with your eggs and toast. Oh, it was great.
nice. That does sound delicious.
Yeah, it was pretty good. All right, so with that, let's get into the story of this game. That goes actually pretty quickly. It seemed like there was a lot, but looking at my notes, about a page and a bit. So hopefully we fly through them, talk about what we liked, give some final things, and then, I don't know, maybe Tyson's playing a game at the end of the podcast, guys. Ooh, baby. You want to stick around for some cultural significance? Yeah, you do. Are we having a tournament? Because I'm a hack? Yup. All right, so the story of Mystical Ninja. While shopping in Oedo Town, Goemon and Ibitsumaru feel the ground quake as a peach-shaped flying object sails overhead. The vessel fires a laser at Edo Castle, turning it into a European-style castle with spirals and flags. Worried about the safety of the Lord of Oedo and his daughter, Goemon and Ibitsumaru retrieve a chain pipe from Mount Fuji and assault the castle.
Yes. That is kind of the first like little chunk of the game. But I think you missed how we get introduced to our characters as they get kicked out of a shop because of Ibitsumaru took off his clothes and tried to dance for the owner of the shop to get a better discount.
Yes, this game has a laugh track. They tell jokes. The enemies, I think they call Goman Fernandez. Frequently, there are musical numbers. It's a very lighthearted, fun game.
Yes. It is a hilarious time. And I think like this humor still kind of holds up and it's still kind of really funny. And it just, you get experience like right into the what you should expect from this game, and it's a
Yeah.
lighthearted adventure.
Yeah,
So
no, it's pretty cute. So we start out in Oedo Town. So you begin by leaving your house. You can explore the small town, purchase some armor and food before heading towards the Kai Highway and Mount Fuji. You are tasked at climbing up the mountain while avoiding threats. At the top, you're rewarded with the chain pipe, which allows you access to Oedo Castle.
yes.
As a child, I probably spent like 2.5 months exploring the first village, getting to Mount
Oh,
Fuji, getting the chain pipe. Like this might have taken days of my life. When I crushed this whole first section and like was in the impact fight in like 30 minutes, I was like, wow, I sucked at video games, didn't I?
oh, 100%. And I realized something, and I was like, there's been always like things that I remember just struggling with this game and never being able to wrap my head around it. So like in the first like kind of like field you can run around in, there's a sloped like path, and then you see like a little like lucky cat on it,
Oh yeah, sure.
and you can't run up the little spot, can't jump up the little like sloped path. But if you literally just run left, there's a flat spot.
Oh, yeah.
You can just jump. You could just jump up it. I probably never could I think I remember never figuring that out as a kid, and I was like, oh my god, I just have to run around to the side. Oh my god, I just fell for the same trap that probably like would have like ruined an entire game session. Like I can't get up this stupid hill. I don't know how this game works. I'm stuck. The controls are bad, whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I got stuck on this tiny slope that all I had to do was just run left.
Yeah,
and jump.
this is one of those things where it sometimes it's nice to go back and experience those things from our youth. Sometimes it's not because you're like, oh, I was a terrible video game player as a child. Wow, 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 wow.
Oh yeah. They're like I sucked at these things.
Yeah.
No wonder I like never completed
Yes,
many
as a
video
child.
games.
So just to be clear, Tyson, what Tyson said was, as a child, I sucked at video games. Not the awkward times when he overspeaks and he says, "I suck, child," or like, wait, what? What did you say about children? Nothing.
Sorry.
No, no.
Sorry, I'm
No,
trying.
no, that's a callback
that's
from
what
like
I was trying to say.
an old podcast. You're like, well, I guess I just suck children. And then I'm like,
Oh my
wait, what
God.
did you just say? And you're like, no, that's not what I meant.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
All right,
I didn't remember saying that. That's how bad my memory is.
I might go back and listen to our old podcast once in a while. I think we're entertaining. Again, this podcast is just for me. The only reason it exists on the internet is because I like to listen to myself. So
Oh, we've seen the analytics.
Yeah.
If you made it past that first like 2-3 minutes, like wow, good for you.
Ooh, baby, all
You're
right.
one of the few.
All right, so Oedo. Now that we're in the castle, so Oedo Castle transformed. Inside our first dungeon, we must navigate hallways filled with enemies, solve some platforming and water puzzles, use our chain pipe. On one of the higher floors, you fight a big spinning head robot after meeting a creepy guy and learning that the Peach Mountain Shoguns are transforming Japan. Doubling back through the castle, you are rewarded with another lucky cat. Okay.
Yeah, I think this boss is this the guy that shoots all the different
Fire,
colored
and then
things
like he has like
and you have to shoot the different like the red one. I think it is.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it'll be like he has like a fourplex on the bottom, and 3 of them shoot lasers, and one of them's like a red dot, and you hit it, and he takes enough damage, and you win.
Yep.
Cool. So,
Again, if you weren't paying attention to the colors, you probably would have screwed up on this boss a whole bunch.
yeah,
But
pretty simple. Most of this game is pretty simple, outside of like 3 sections. And you're like, oh, cool, awesome.
and there's even like some like rooms in the dungeon that you just skip this whole section. It's
Yeah.
fine. You don't need to be in it.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I here? Oh, I can just swim to the other side, and there's a little thing. Why am I doing all the platforming?
Literally.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's interesting level design. Not super consistent. So you're like, but again, overall, not terrible. So from here we go to Shina Iga, Wise Man's house. So after talking to the Lord of the Castle, we are tasked at trying to stop the Peach Mountain Gang before it's too late. We are granted a gate pass so we can now travel west towards the Wise Man's house. Before reaching it, it explodes. Another creepy guy shows up, and we have to have the game's first impact fight. So we use our horn, we summon impact, we listen to a sick song, and then we have to fight a big kabuki robot.
Oh yeah, this is like Ultraman, Godzilla battle time. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a good change of pace. It's interesting to have kind of like a fun little mech shooter. And I just would recommend finding a list of moves So either have that beside you or on your phone or something like that, easily accessible. And it's like up, C down, C up, A in multi-punch. Do that a couple times, hit some laser blasts. You'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, and you does require like you can shoot coins and they're kind of like missiles or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat handy and some.
Impact also has a chain pipe. Then apparently, if you hit them and you like tap, bash, or mash the buttons, you can pull the enemies. I only learned that in the final boss battle. I was like, damn it! I wish I would have known this earlier. Probably would have made the game easier.
Yeah, but it's like it's got a slow animation, so if you miss, you're just like leave yourself open.
You save beforehand, you die, you just reset. It's pretty low stakes. But afterwards, though, we get to see the game's title card. So that was just the first part, and we're off to Zazentown. Here we meet Mai, so pretty early on in the game. She is a secret agent ninja. She joins us. She has a katana, and that's it. So let's stick to Goemon. Why am I writing these dumb notes? Okay. You have to talk to a guy who wants some fish. We collect the fish before he gives us a log to throw at the man who's blocking our way forward. So, good old Zazentown.
Yeah, not a whole lot, but isn't it Yai, not Mai?
It's definitely Yai, and I think I realized I was writing it wrong. So sometimes it's Mai, sometimes it's Yai.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I figured that was an autocorrect thing, but yes. She's kind of fun to run around as, get a different character. Yeah. It's nice to have some variety.
Yeah, I don't know if she does anything like spectacular. I think most of the time I just stayed as Goemon, especially since he had a projectile and the chain pipe helped a bit too, depending what enemies were in the area. It might be nice to have some distance, right, when you're wanting to attack people.
Yes. And yeah, he's kind of just the best. I mean, he's the default. He also has the funnest super move that he gets later in the game. Mm-hmm. So I'll save that for later.
All right. Something, fish. Oh, and the log that you throw is, they refer to it as the Achilles heel. And you throw it and at the man blocking the gate and you take him out. And that's when the legend of the Achilles heel was born. And that's why we use that saying.
Of course.
At least that's what the narrator says. Abitsamaro then steps in and he says, I don't think that's right. I think that's different. Like, quiet you. So, again, lots of humor, lots of fun. That was one of the other standout moments where I was like, Abitsamaro. Funny little guy.
Yeah. It's clever. It's like this game never for like a moment takes itself too seriously.
No, not at all. From there, though, so now that we get past the gate, on the other side of the gate, we travel through a tunnel, a beach, past a temple, solve a rock puzzle in a bamboo forest, before coming out on the seaside. Here we discover that the local dragon taxi service has been taken over by an evil robot. Well, just a robot. I don't know if he's evil. His intentions are different from ours. Let's not brand robots evil or good. Let's just neutral robot that we fight. We are tasked at defeating the robot on the dragon. Cool.
Yeah. Not too hard. Essentially just got to run up the dragon. And it's funny, if you just stay at a certain distance, I think it's like 2 or 3 scales back or whatever, it just spins around and then you wait till it stops. Then you run up, slash it.
The only time that this boss is difficult is because the dragon is kind of a platform that rotates. If you do get hit while he's rotating, you can kind of glitch out and fall off and have to restart. That happened to me a couple times. More than taking damage, I was like kept falling off the edge or just glitch out. So yeah, like Tyson said, stay back, hit, and just trying not to get hit while the dragon's on a tilt, and you should be okay.
Yeah, and just take your time. Don't rush. Like, there's literally no time limit. Just if the dragon's in an awkward position, just like honestly, just wait it out. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Now that the dragon is defeated, we travel back down. I think we're outside of Zazentown, maybe? No, we're on an island or something. We travel to Io. Yeah, there we go. And we learn that we must become small to access the next dungeon. I should note that when the dragon crashes down, he reveals that he's actually just returned to his human form, which is a young boy. He grants us a dragon flute, apologizes for being brainwashed, and we can use him with Yai at any time to fast travel any of the coffee houses that we've been to before. So we're like, yeah, cool, awesome. But we do have to become small, so therefore we have to travel back to Zazentown, and Abitsumaru can play a mini game to unlock a shrinking ability. Cool.
Yes. It's kind of his only useful ability. I feel like they had to give it to somebody.
It's like a
Um,
camera. Oh, you want to kill ghosts? You need a camera.
that's true. That's true. But I feel like it's barely used them.
Yeah.
And especially since there's no like XP, so you can just run around enemies in this game. It's like you can really run around enemies in this game.
Yeah, I guess unless you want to grind for some money, but I recommend go to the start of Oedo Castle and just like grind in the first room where you can get 120 bucks a piece. And that's a good way
Yeah.
of getting some money later in the game or earlier in the game, whenever. The only other thing to get into the next area, so that's why we need the shrinking ability, is Goemon does have a hidden ability on the island in Io. As soon as where the dragon guy kind of leaves you, if you head up the stairs, there's a shrine, and if you throw 5 coins, the gods reward you with a flaming coin ability. No one says this, no one mentions it. If you talk to Plasma, he says, you should travel to the shrine. That's about it. I actually got stuck here a couple years ago, so that 2 summers ago when I was playing this is actually the point where I got stuck and couldn't go further because I had no idea where to get the fire medallions. So
Right. This might be one of those times where they forget to include like an NPC because there might be somebody in the town that says something, or somebody.
If
in
you
the
get to the top, they
coffee
say
house.
the gods reward the fortune or something like that. It is one of those things where just the conveyance
Vague.
at this part of the game is not good. So again, if you had a guide, you're okay, and you're like, yeah, sweet. However, when we can shrink and we can shoot fire, that means we have access to the Ghost Toy Castle. So we must travel through a linear section to turn on the power. Gets us a camera, then we can play a easy or hard crane game, okay, to get Ibitsamara a camera, which makes ghosts vulnerable. We now gain access to the later half of the dungeon. It involves a lot of caves, and the boss is a red guy with swinging arms.
Yeah. Kind of an okay little a castle,
Sure.
a dungeon, I should say.
I noted that
But
there was
it's-
a lucky cat underwater, so I was like, oh, I should come back here with a mermaid to get that at some point, which I did. And of the couple retrospectives I've seen, it was mentioned on 3 of them how difficult the crane game was. So it's a crane game where you can have a up and an over. I did it in 1 try, and I had literally no issues. So I'm not entirely sure why 6 attempts. I think that's what these guys were complaining of. These long, slow 6 attempts that they took at this. I'm like, I don't know if it was that tough, guys. I don't know if this like needs to be mentioned, but I will mention it. It was fine. If that's like a deterrent, like, well, I don't want to play a hard crane game in this fun adventure game, you're missing out because it's not a big deal.
Link's Awakening's crane game's harder than this.
Yeah, exactly. So okay. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's notable. We get another upgrade for our boy, Bitsmaru.
Ahoy, hoy!
Yeah.
All right.
Kind of an okay little castle. I mean, I'd hate to see it's better than the next one. That's the one I hate the most, I
Okay,
think.
that's the one you have. Well, it's basically coming up right away. So not a lot of side quests in between. We head back to Zazin Town after we finish the Ghost Toy Castle, and we are now directed to an area with some blow-upable walls, which means we have to find 2 batteries, one in the desert and another on top of a tree that's hidden by that we need to use a camera to unlock to resurrect our friend Sasuke. Once he has arrived, we can head back to Zazin Town, blow up some walls, find a cave, which grants us access to the 3rd dungeon.
Yes. I mean, I know this is kind of Sasuke's dungeon, but it is filled with instant kills, which sucks. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, but nothing really of note. Did you have any troubles finding the batteries? I think sometimes the platforming can be a little tricky.
This was a part where I kept looking at the guide and they'd say go west, and I was like, I have no idea what fuck directions are. So I started using the map at this point. So I think on the D-pad or maybe the C-pad, if you press one of the left or rights, it'll pull up a big blue map, which then kind of directs you. And this is north, and west is left, and east is right, and south is down, right? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So this is when I started using that. Definitely helped transportation get a little bit easier, right? Once I was in the desert, I was like, oh, I know definitely there's a battery here. And I stumbled upon the great tree earlier, and I just had known. I was like, something about the camera in this great tree, right? So honestly, not too bad getting these batteries, but I did need to kind of stop and change how I was playing, pull up my map, which then definitely helped with the rest of the game, right? Whether it was dungeons or just orienting myself with kind of where to go. The map is kind of gross, and I hate it because this giant blue blob that looks horrific. That's not like see through at all. Kind of just takes up a lot of
Yeah.
the real estate. But once you figure that mechanic out, or even just like pull it up a couple times and like orient yourself, it makes it exploring way easier.
Yeah, and I think the everything starts kind of looking the samey here, especially with that beautiful N64 kind of
Yeah.
drop crop
Well, you
shadow
just
or
like
whatever
you
I
just
want to
missed
call it.
tabs. Like one of the door to find the desert. I like didn't know where it was because it's kind of like off to the left, and you have to go up a little hill, and I was distracted by some of the enemies on the other side of the screen. Right, so pulling up the map definitely helped that, and helped me through Festival Toy Castles. So, wait, did you have any trouble with the batteries?
No, no,
Okay.
I was kind of following a decent guide, so wasn't so bad.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, I'm starting to battle the camera in some spots, but that's pretty par for
Yeah,
early
yeah,
3D
yeah. And
games.
it's like all nitpicks. They clean it up later. I'm like, it was one of the first attempts. All right, so Festival Toy Castle. So you have access to the first half while avoiding some thwomps, rolling blocks, and samurai. Once you get Sasuke's frozen daggers, which unlocks the second half of the dungeon, which includes a teeter-totter stairs. Oh yeah, those are kind of fun. A cool fish platforming room, and a boss fight. And the boss here was Ghost Boss. He throws energy discs, which you can kind of avoid, and then there's two red ones, and if you hit them back, they do damage to him. So, Festival Toy Castle.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I have the hardest time building a mental image because there's so many rooms that are kind of like you running onto like grates,
Sure.
and it's like and so it's like I always just I feel like I was doing so many backtracking. It was like, was I just in this room or was I just in that room? So and like the map's kind of useless, so it's just hard to navigate and easy to get lost. So
Nice. Yeah, there was one part, yeah, where you're kind of out in a courtyard, and I found like it was like a silver key door. And when I got the silver key, I was like, oh, I know exactly where to go. And I know you had mentioned that you kind of disliked this level. I wonder if I was like knowing that it was difficult and making a note of that door and key helped at all. I don't know. I did really enjoy the fish platforming room. So at one point you come in, there's a big waterfall, and there's these big giant fish platforms that kind of spin around this pole in the center of the room. Absolutely gorgeous. Love that room. Had so much fun. And that was one of the parts where this game stopped being a chore that I was playing for a podcast so I could talk about with my brother, and became something I was like, oh, I'm having a lot of fun with this game, and kind of started appreciating all the little nuanced things, right? These big, giant, rotating platforms. It's so cool to see in a 3D platformer, right? Just adds that extra element. It's something unique. I've never seen it since, right? It's kind of along lines to say even like the Great Bay Temple in a Majora's Mask or something like that. It's just one of these cool mechanics. It kind of is out of the blue. It doesn't really make sense. They're just having fun, obviously, with the level designs. They weren't trying to make it cohesive at any point or have logic. But I thought that was one of those rooms where I was like, this stands out in my mind as like the history of 3D platformers as one of the most creative, unique rooms I've ever experienced.
wow. Um, That's high praise. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is interesting because I was trying to think of another example. I'm like, I can't really think
Nothing.
of
Think of
one.
it. Yeah, exactly. Like think of any game that has like they're very fluid motion and timing. Timing is a big challenge there, right? Like I don't know. I was like, cool, awesome. All right, well, you've done something unique in this space, and it's stuck with me, right? Like it was one of those things I played that weeks ago. Done other stuff in my life, but I like have to mention that. So, Gateway Viewpoint. So from there though, we are directed to head west. We meet a girl who heads to Kushu or something like that, as the island itself is abducted. We must go back to Oedo Town. Gomon learns to pop balloons that makes him a Super Saiyan, which grants us access to the North Tunnel and pops us out in Festival Village.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, him going Super Saiyan is awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you throw
Um,
bricks at these weird guys' heads, these weird like mole people. I
yeah,
actually struggled a little bit with this mini challenge because I didn't realize it took 3 bricks to kind of reset them.
hmm
But like once you learn that, you just kind of throw 3 blocks and you just do a circle, and it's super easy.
yes, yes. And just like that is the trick. Don't throw one, throw multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes two, sometimes three. And I think yeah, that's the trick with that one. But going back to like that girl who heads to Kushu,
Yep.
um, is that not your girlfriend from the first game? And you kind of met her in the first village. So she made her all like we've made it gone on this whole adventure, and she's off delivering ramen, and she's just like right behind us.
Yes. And that's actually
And
alluded
just
to. They're like, we went on this giant adventure, did all this stuff, and she's just like out for deliveries and is getting as far as we are. Cool. Great.
yeah, yeah. It's like this girl's pretty hardcore. That's hilarious. I could see why Gomon and her are a good fit for each other.
Sure. Great. Yeah. And it was one of those like, oh, it's this person. I don't know. You just seem like everyone else. Maybe it was the Lord of the Wado Castle's daughter. Is that not the same girl?
I have no idea.
And she
I
works
should
as a
look it up.
delivery person. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, something noteworthy there. So, and basically, Gomon literally straight up becomes Super Saiyan. His hair turns yellow. He's really strong, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it's based on Super Saiyans." And you're like, "Cool." Or, I guess more specifically, Supersonic. That came obviously first before Dragon Ball Z, and no one in Dragon Ball Z should ever get any credit for everything because Sonic is awesome. From there, we head to Musu, the festival village / Mount Fear, and the waterfall. So you can chat with some villagers to unlock being able to return to Mount Fuji to upgrade your weapons. I definitely did that first and was upset that I didn't get more weapons. Because then I had to go back to Festival Village and talk to someone and they say, oh, you should go unlock your weapons. So that's what I get for trying to be smart. This will now grant you access to Mount Fear. And at the peak, an old spiritual lady summons the wise man, who lets us know that we must collect 4 mystical items to travel to outer space. Luckily for us, we actually already have 3. So Yai just needs to swim up a waterfall, become a mermaid, so that we can access the 4th and final dungeon.
We get her ability, which is it's fun to turn into the mermaid. Gives
Yeah.
you access to so much more of the game.
yeah.
Um, I looked up the girl's name and it's Omitsu.
Yep.
And doesn't look like she's the.
Oh, okay.
I think she's just like she's Gomon's girlfriend,
Cool. All right. That's fair.
granddaughter of the wise old man.
Okay.
That's well.
Cool. So maybe she's in the first village. If you like went into the right coffee shop, she's there and chatting. Sure. All right.
I think so. But I feel like she was also in the first game that we played. But it's so long ago, I don't really remember. I should have listened to our podcast. I'm sure we talked about it.
I did not listen to it either. Maybe I'll go back and listen at some point. But yeah, I'm like, I have no idea what the lore is of this game. I'm just kind of going with it. Anything that stands out there? No, not really. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of fairly straightforward. It's kind of nice to get all your upgrades, and you're starting to really like have everybody's kind of has almost all their final stuff.
Yeah, I think we just need another jump mechanic right before the end of the game, and then we're kind of good. So we're on to the underwater / gourmet submarine castle. So we can now head to the shore, activate a switch, which reveals that the sea, which is where the 4th dungeon is hidden. The gourmet subcastle sees us travel through various soups, platform around sushis, and there's a major emphasis on timed platforming in this area. And the boss here is we end up in an impact battle with a giant fish mech. Da-da-da-do! I think that means dash.
Okay. And it's interesting. It's I never really dig water levels, but I guess swimming around as Yai isn't too bad.
No, it's really pretty simple. Like you just move around. There's some like not a lot of enemies. If you want, you can do a little bit of exploration. I know right after you get her abilities, there's a gold cat that gives you an extra heart piece, as well as there's a couple, maybe one extra hidden piece in like the sea. But like, yeah, pretty bare. Pretty just kind of go forward. The dungeon here, not super challenging. Like each section had like a little, maybe 2 or 3 rooms to explore, find a key, move on, right? And then, like I said, lots
Yeah.
of timed platforming. So areas, slow moving platforms that go over like a big chasm, and you just kind of have to like sit and chill and avoid the flaming fox heads.
Yeah, for the most part, it's kind of a fairly straightforward one. It's definitely easier, and I don't know if it's just easier to navigate than what the heck was it called? Like
Festival Temple Castle.
Village.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the heck that was.
Yeah.
It's like, so it seems very straightforward. Not a lot of sidetracking, and the nice thing about this game is it's not like you're trying to loot a million things.
Mm-hmm.
Just grab Lucky Cats to get health if you need it. You can kind of skip them if it's too difficult because
Yeah.
yeah, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get like so many. I haven't gone on my way, and I have like
Oh,
probably
and there's a shop that you can
12
unlock.
to 15.
Yeah, like when in the final festival village, there's an underwater section. If you swim through this kind of underwater cave, you come out to this little shop that sells gold armors and a gold hat, as well as these replenishable fish treats. So the fish treats, when you die, you get full health. The both gold armors, I think, give you an extra 8 points of damage each. So with just that set of damage, that's 16 points of damage. Plus, let's say how many heart pieces you have or lucky cats you found. So even 12 plus a refill. So you're looking at 32 minimum. That's if you have 12 hearts. I think I had like 15 or 16, right? So I was looking at 16 plus 16, so 32 plus 8 plus 8, so 48 hits of damage, and I would have died. And I don't know if I ever had more than like 5 or 6 at any given time.
Yes, and it's not like people are taking off huge chunks
No.
of your health. It's like, here's a heart or a hit.
Yeah, half a heart. Oh, Ibitsamaru has a little meat hammer that turns everyone into dumplings. Oh, you always have full health all the time. Cool.
Yeah. It's not a difficult game,
No.
but it's I think and it benefits by being straightforward
Oh, very much
then
so.
you don't get sidetracked. The pacing keeps good. Yeah.
Yeah, and when people are
So-
complaining like, "Oh, it's tough. There's a crane game." That's probably about as challenging as this game gets. Outside of sometimes impact battles can be challenging if you don't know what you're doing. But there's only 3 of them, and we've already done 2, so cool.
Yeah,
All right.
and they're fun.
Yeah.
So like, who doesn't like fighting a giant mech fish?
I don't know. Sick people out there, I guess. Sick people. So then the final miracle items. So we find out that the 4th miracle item was actually dropped in Zazentown. We find a Kappa who wants cucumbers. We have to learn high jump and pay $800 for the cucumbers. Once obtained, we can head to some stone circles near the final area of the game. And are you sure? Once you move on, you won't be able to return. What?
Yeah. So better go back and get any of those Lucky Cats if you missed them.
Yeah, I forget what I was at. I think I had the bottom row. So at the end of the game, it shows you how many lucky cats you had. I had 3 full lines. I was missing the final 10 or 11, whatever they kind of break the lines into. So I had 75%.
Yeah, I feel like I had maybe somewhat a bit of. I wasn't going to go back and do any backtracking. It's like, it's fine.
I
I'm
ended
not
up
taking
doing
any
more
damage.
backtracking right now and like checking out all the areas with Zai and stuff because I only had like $100. And I was like, $800? So I went to Oedo Castle at the beginning and just grinded up, and I think I had like 3,200 or something. And I was like, that'll be enough for the rest of the game. It was more than enough for the rest of the game. So I definitely overdid it, but it took like 10 minutes kind of thing of grinding, so nothing super major. But that's why I had a bit more lucky cats too, because I was grinding money at the end of the game. Yay.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't hurt to have a little bit extra cash. It may be unnecessary grinding, but spending more time in this game is not a bad idea.
No.
You can get listen to that soundtrack for a little bit longer.
Ooh, baby.
It's all right.
Ooh, baby. All right. So then we're in the gorgeous music castle. So the music in this final area is absolutely dynamite. It's amazing. It's super high paced. It fits with the areas. It's great. We have to solve a few platforming rooms. The puzzles usually aren't that hard, but the platforming can be a challenge and brutal to recover from. Usually when you fall down, there's usually a pretty high point of tolerance, or they don't tolerance failure a lot in this game. So you fall, you're headed back. There was one section where I jumped down prematurely, and it was like 6 or 7 rooms just to get back to the first area. I was like, wow, that's steep. Definitely don't make that jump in the future, right? So at the midpoint of this castle, we find a little town where we can rest up, buy some more armor, find our friends Imitsu, learn that the wise man isn't dead after all, and he upgrades our weapons. So, kind of first half of the dungeon work for you?
Yeah, it's punishing. I think it's pretty straightforward where you shouldn't get caught too far out doing anything silly. But it's you miss one jump and you're punished. Mm-hmm. So maybe a little unforgiving that way. Especially since you can just fall for what feels like forever and you're just doomed.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I made a lot of save states.
That works. Yeah, that would also be one way of doing this. And then where do we see? We make it to the final area of the dungeon that didn't stand out too much before seeing the villains perform a musical number on a big stage. And we call Impact to have our final boss battle. So the final boss of this game is the Peach Mountain ship. So it's a shooting segment followed by a mech fight with the Peach Mountain mech. Okay.
Yeah. It's got to end with a big old mech fight.
Sure.
That's the best part. That's the best part about the game.
The bosses were kind of lame in the first 3 dungeons, so ending with 2 mech battles, yeah, probably much better than what we were going to get in terms of platforming challenges from the bosses here, right? So, yeah, I'm all for it. It works, and it's pretty simple. Luckily, if you beat the first kind of shooting segment, you don't have to redo it. Every time you can just kind of pick up in like the actual mech battle the next go round, so that is kind of nice. I think I replayed each of them twice.
Okay. Yeah. It's easy to kind of like just
that was also
take too much damage.
Yeah, because I didn't realize
not
the
knowing
ship
the pattern. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could take down the ship by shooting. Like when you're fighting the big Peach Mountain ship, you kind of go between the head and the arms, and then the other arms, and the legs. But you can destroy the arms and then just never go back to that segment. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, sure. Huh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I mean, I had lots of money in this game, so I could just spam shots.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Money isn't related. Like how much royal you have in the game doesn't equate to the battles. It's all how well do you do at the beginning game where you're destroying objects and stuff like that, and I try to avoid tripping. And then how many coins, like how many balloons do you pop?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you said that you're like, oh, there's a mech battle at the end. Make sure you have lots of money. And I was like, great, I have $3,000. And then I started and I had $100 in the boss battle. So they're independent of each other.
Yeah, well, F me then.
Yeah. So cool. So the ending, though, is the Peach Mountain gang are sent into space and finally become a star. Back in Japan, the stolen island is returned, but our gang is attacked by an angry group of fangirls as the credits roll.
Yep. Well, nothing like saving the world only to be cast out by all the fans.
Yeah. Apparently they weren't so evil after all. Hey, we'll talk about that in Are You Buying It? Because I'm a little confused as to what happened in this game, so maybe we can talk that through. But let's get to our current thoughts. Tyson, what are your current thoughts on Mystical Ninja?
It's fun. I think it's quite a little quirky title. Yep. It's got a little, like, the jumping and using the pipe to hit the blocks is a little bit tricky, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it's not so bad. I feel like it's pretty forgiving with its hitboxes and stuff. Gives you lots of health. Sometimes the conveyance is a little bit dumb and doesn't work, and you kind of don't know where you're going, but that's what we got guides for. So yeah, I don't know. I had a great time, and I really enjoyed this game. What about you?
Yeah, this game is amazing. It sets the tone really well, and it's one of those things we talked about in movies and some games too. Just the atmosphere that is created, and this game is has some of the best atmosphere that I can recall on the N64. Right, the music in this game is just absolutely incredible. They have music numbers. They have a couple different songs that they play, right? All the soundtrack is just incredible. It sounds like nothing else that we've heard kind of here in North America, especially up into this point in the gaming cycle. It does have some limitations, right? Difficult platforming, lack of conveyance in certain points. But overall, this is one of my favorite N64 games. It's just so weird and full of personality. And I was going to try and make an argument that it's a top 5 N64 game for me. but I think it would probably be stuck at like, yeah, about that 4-5 spot, or sorry, 5-6 spot, right? Kind of looking back at what stands out there. So I this is an incredible game. I'm so glad that I got to go back and relive this, and it's a joy. It's an absolute joy.
That's fair. That's fair. Is it because Banjo-Kazooie kicks it off the list?
Yeah, that's it. Well, I figure, okay, you probably have to do like Ocarina, Mario 64, Majora. That kind of has to be your top three, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, Diddy Kong Racing, Paper Mario, and then Mystical Ninja are like my next three. But I'm just like not sure if this is better, or I like this game more than, say, like Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, and I was thinking, in mine I got GoldenEye sitting in there.
And GoldenEye as well too, right? So like that's the next bracket down. It's like those four are kind of like the next tier. So, but this sits in here easily. I probably like this game better than GoldenEye. I'd rather play Mystical Ninja again than GoldenEye as a solo experience. Maybe multiplayer, it's a different, right? You know, a bit more fun playing GoldenEye, but I think it's right up there in terms of, yeah, probably top 5 or 6 or 7 or something, right? So it's high. I highly regard this game. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, when you mix Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, and you nail it, and you give us a fun, quirky, cool world to go spend time around with a great soundtrack, it's hard to disagree.
Yeah, sweet. How about, what would I change? I would make the map smaller. It's just so big, but it is essential to traverse the world. It works. It's just such an eyesore. Oh, I see. Yeah, make the map. So when you pull that up, maybe get more transparent, do something, but the map is just, it's not good.
Yeah, the map is pretty bad. Mine would be the camera.
Sure.
I don't like that it notches.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, it goes from like turns like 90 degrees from spot to spot. It's not fluid. It's like, give me a nice fluid little camera and I could just run around in this game. It'd be so much fun. I just would, I'd love that. I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that is definitely a downside. I don't know, they could have done something. I feel like there's an extra button somewhere that definitely could have focused a camera on you, but it is a limitation. It sucks, especially in combat, because the way the camera works is you kind of just have to like face where you want to go and then wait, and it slowly rotates around you, which is fine unless you're a bunch of enemies are in the room and you're just like taking damage because you're like, I don't know where I'm going. It sucks. Ugh.
And you get knocked back by the damage, and then you're just like, I'm still not oriented in the right direction. This is awful.
That's it. Okay, cool. So all in all, relatively positive. Let's just end with it. Are you buying it? I'm going to read the ending because I wonder if we missed something off Wikipedia here. And then, are you buying it? So I got nothing. I looked online. Not a lot of people are talking about this game. So maybe the Peach Mountain Shoguns weren't bad after all? Or is that the actual plot? So here, when we find that the wise man is still alive, Goemon learns that in exchange for building the instant stage beam and mechanical robots, the Peach Mountain Shogun gave the wise man 5 car magazines and muscle car posters. And apparently all the car magazines that he stockpiled over the years started a fire, which is why his home actually exploded at the beginning. So it wasn't the Peach Mountain Shoguns at all. It was just happenstance. And I think that's it. So I'm actually not sure if the Peach Mountain Shoguns are evil or not. We know that.
Did they not like teleport that whole section
into outer
away?
Space? Yeah, like I kind of think they are bad, but apparently, the fangirls rushed them at the end instead of praising them for saving Japan. I don't know. It's kind of cute. I think it's just supposed to be kind of like a funny, like whap whap cartoon kind of game, right? Not supposed to be super deep and essential.
Yes.
So.
Well, and I think it's also like, you know, the heroes saved the day, and here comes the screaming fangirls, and they're like, it's for us.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's for the villains, you idiots. We're here to beat you.
Yeah, we love dancing. Our spring breeze.
And our characters get introduced being chased by people that don't want them there, and then we end by they getting chased around by people who don't want them there. So I think it's fantastic.
Stunning. So I think that ends unless we missed something, our review of Mystical Ninja, one of the finer N64 games. If you haven't experienced it for yourself, I don't know how you're going to find a copy. I guess emulator at this point. Until there's a legal way of getting this for cheap, emulate the heck out of this game. It's awesome. It's great. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't think Konami's going to come after you. They'd have to like,
Yeah.
you got to make these games in the last decade
Yeah.
to have a claim on it. I
Okay.
think it's something along those lines.
Okay. Sweet. So then how about a final cultural significance and we'll get out of here?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So in this section, we look at game design, the lore inspirations, turning points, interesting stories, talk how this game relates, give other examples, and tie it all back together in the end. Guys, we have this crazy Japanese culture to dive through, characters that are based on ancient Japanese lore and folk figures. Is that what we're going to spend our day talking about? Nah, I already told you Tyson's playing a game. But first, we have to look at some Zelda likes. So, Mystical Ninja, like I said, owes a little bit to Ocarina of Time or vice versa. They're similar. You collect 4 cats, they give you an extra heart piece. Cool, great. You go into a dungeon, you collect items, they help you traverse. There's keys. Very, very similar to dungeons or to Zelda. So let's look at some other Zelda likes before letting Tyson play a little game. So some of the ones I pulled off a list were Nintendo's Okami, which is kind of a beautiful game about a spiritual, almost like a Native American Japanese style dog, and you solve dungeons. Apparently, it's very similar to the Zeldas.
Yeah, and it's based off of Japanese lore. I forget the name. Geez, I should know these things. It doesn't matter. Yeah, pretty fun game. I think got re-released on a few consoles. It was originally only on the Wii, but then it got adapted into like I think PlayStation and Xbox both got it or something.
I thought it was like, wasn't it on like the GameCube originally or something? PlayStation? Oh no, it was the Wii. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I'm sure it's been released at this point. Wii was one of those consoles that kind of, once it's on a CD, they find it easy to just press like print, as opposed to taking the digital file from the game and putting it on a CD. Anyways, other games is Darksiders. I don't know anything about this, but I believe you play as like one of the horsemen of the apocalypse or something like that.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes. And yeah, it's kind of like who started the apocalypse? Was it? Everybody thinks it was you, but you know it wasn't you. So you're trying to like get a like redeem yourself, but very similar to Zelda.
Okay.
So.
There we go. Capcom's Okami HD. You can import for $46. So if you really wanted to play that.
Maybe a little steep. I'd say wait till a Capcom sale. It's a Capcom game. You give me it for like $10 or $5.
I don't know if they have an American version though, so you might need to get like the Japanese import.
Maybe it's also available digitally.
Potentially, yeah. Like they have one on like the Japanese import for the PS4 is $34. So
Gotcha.
if you really need to play Okami, that's how you do it. Darksiders cool. About Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Never played it.
Ah, come on. It's so good. I wouldn't say it's a Zelda game because the original Prince of Persia Sands of Time is kind of more just like a fun puzzly game, but I could see how it's similar.
Yeah,
I could see how it's similar.
How about Secret of Mana? And I was like, damn it, I don't want to talk about this game, but it is kind of a Zelda-like. It has a bit more RPG elements, right? They have the battles where you kind of have to, what's it called? Turn-based battle system. But the overworld in that game, yeah, you have a whip that definitely acts like a hookshot, and you have other items, and lots of the overworld exploration of that game is very much just them ripping off Legend of Zelda in a terrible, terrible way that no one should ever play, and it's an awful game, and I hate it.
Yeah, to a point where it's like, imagine if Zelda like action and input had like feel like a laggy, junky mess, and the platforming wasn't like fluid, and you controlled your character. It was more like you just smashed your characters into invisible boundaries around the world until you found your way through it. It's a fun time.
Yeah, really recommend.
So I did see it on this list, and I was like, ugh, that game.
Yeah. How about Fez, the next one on the list? Not really. It's more of a 3D puzzle game, but I guess if just puzzle games or action or swords becomes Zelda-like, oh boy, Fez. It's a Zelda-like.
I never played it.
It's not bad. If you find it somewhere, it's cute. It's just if you don't really like platforming though, why would you play this game? How about Alundra? I know nothing about Alundra, but I saw the name and I was like, I feel like that's one of those like, it's definitely a game that maybe like we talked about or we saw it in a magazine or something like that.
I feel like I own that game.
Do I own it?
At some point.
It's definitely an RPG. It has swords. There's a guy with silly hair. Could it
It
be?
was either like either we owned it or it was on a demo disc, and I played the demo disc a couple times.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the box
'Cause
art, and Alundra doesn't seem like one. But I feel like there was a while there where just like any anime game, we had a, what was that?
yeah, but I also might be confusing this with geez, now I'm really gonna screw myself. There's another one that looks like this. I was confused. Alundra. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. Oh, Grandia. That's what it is.
Yeah, Grandia was alright too. That was an RPG that was a little bit more realistic, right? Like you started off as a kid in a town and you had to collect a pot or something, like a cooking pot, and that was like your hat, right? That was your armor. And remember, that was like
Yes.
how Grandia was sold. There was another game too, and I feel like it was something similar to like this. It was a guy with a sword, and maybe he had like a little monster, and you started off in a tower, and it was on the PS1, and like we couldn't even play it. Like we'd play like for 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't understand how this game works. Like I don't understand the mechanics. So there's a lot of weird like PlayStation games at some point. And maybe when Podtendo dies, we become like Zonetendo. Wait, I don't think my naming mechanics work if I go in that direction. There'd be a lot of weird RPGs on the PlayStation you could get into, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like there was a lot of clunky bad ones because you're right. I don't know if that one's one, but I remember like Orin was one where we played it.
Sure.
Or Orphan. Was it Orphan?
I have a bunch of games. They're on a shelf. We talk about this. We actually talked about this on the last. I was like, it was like Mega Man or something, and you're like, I think it was Mega Man 6 or X6 or something. It literally is on the shelf like 4 feet from me, and I went and looked, and I was like, no. And I sent Tyson a picture, and I was like, it's X5. Here's the copy right here. So I'm sure the game I'm talking about is like right there. Anyways, we'll just move on to the last one. A game that we played one weekend when you came to visit, 3D Dot Heroes. So definitely a Zelda-like, where they just kind of took the 2D Zelda world, built a bunch of cute little pixel characters, and made it a kind of, what's it called, isometric, 3D isometric game. Pretty solid, and yeah, definitely just a Zelda clone.
Yeah, very good though. I think it was a lot of fun, and you get all these different kind of upgrades, and you run around. It's a very fun game.
So yeah, with that ends our just kind of Zelda likes that we kind of discussed quickly. And however, we're not going to end with that. I'm not going to end giving you anything useful, guys. We need to do a true old-fashioned Podtendo battle royale. I'm going to give Tyson a list of items, and he's going to talk his way through until he declares a champion. I'm not going to give you anything well thought out or in depth or discuss the beautiful nation of Japan and the culture and personality that this game gives us. Rather, let's have a Japanese battle royale. What are the qualifications of the tournament, you ask? Japanese. So Tyson, you have to decide who is the most or best thing from Japan. Qualifier, so big qualifier off the top. There is no Nintendo in this tournament. Nintendo is amazing. It's been in our lives since we were just wee little guys. And I kind of feel like they'd probably win, right? Like, Tyson, could you say something was less Japanese and amazing than Nintendo?
I don't think so. I mean, it's they make a quality product, and they've been in our lives since, what, 30 years now?
Probably.
Probably?
Yeah, we got it, and probably since you were 2. So, in your life since you were 2, you probably don't have memories before that.
Over
so
30 years.
It's just always kind of been there with you. I would think it would hard-pressed not to have this. So let's take Nintendo out of the conversation. You're probably the if-so facto champion. Maybe you'll run it at the end and like hit somebody with a steel chair. I don't know. We'll see who wins. We'll see if I have to change things or if I don't like Tyson's picks. However, the non-Nintendo tournament. Are we ready to see what is the best thing from Japan? Yeah.
Ready.
All right. So number 1 seed. So 16 seed tournament. We've got the quintessential. The one of the greatest animes of all time. Dragon Ball Z. You thought Goku was cool before? Guess what? He's an alien. Wow. Let's see how that plays out. Versus the number 16 seed. Austin Powers in Gold member.
Yeah. I always forget that this one's in Japan.
I had that too. I mentioned it to someone. I'm like, no, they have. Remember the shiitake mushrooms and Fat Bastard's a sumo wrestler.
Yeah, and there's the Godzilla.
Godzilla.
But it's not Godzilla.
Yeah.
But we should still run like it's Godzilla. There's some good jokes. There's some solid jokes.
I feel like people just don't think about that movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely the weaker. Because when I rewatch the Austin Power movies, I go 1, 2, and then I move on with my life.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool.
But you know what? Let's go. I love me some Dragon Ball Z, and we lost to Kiri Toriyama this year, so I'm gonna give this one to our number one seed, Dragon Ball Z.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Great. So number 1, Dragon Ball Z. I was really hoping you beat Gold Member. That would be sad. They're going to play in the next round. We've got a number 8 and a number 9 seed. So we have the organization known as New Japan Wrestling. They have death wire barbed match. I think they actually had an exploding barbed wire cage match, and every time you touched the cage, it exploded. Pretty cool stuff. It's a more hardcore
That sounds
version. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Versus the 2 brands, and you can decide which ones you like better: Kawasaki or Toyota.
Okay, so I'll start with the decider between Kawasaki and Toyota.
Sure.
Kawasaki makes a darn good motorcycle, and one of their motorcycles is even called a Ninja. Okay. So, pretty cool. However, Toyota is the epitome of Japanese engineering, or at least to me, in my eyes. I think that they are so amazing. They make incredible good vehicles. They make fast vehicles, reliable vehicles. The only thing they haven't really done is take a big step into like racing, but that's not important when you need reliability. So
You know what?
I'm gonna
Efficiency, like efficient companies like a BMW and Toyota, they don't have to go into a racing competition to prove they make the best engines. They just make the best engines. So they're like, no, good. You keep your F1, you keep your braces. We're fine over here sitting with our quality product.
Yeah. It's like there's millions of testers on the road every day who swear by these vehicles. I think we don't need to advertise.
We're probably okay. Awesome. So Toyota is going up against New Japan Wrestling. Who's coming out of this one?
You know, I kind of want to pick New Japan Wrestling because I feel like it's just sounds awesome. Like an exploding cage. Every time you touch it, it blows up. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But I unfortunately just don't know anything about
Sure.
New Japan Wrestling.
Okay.
So I'm going to give a slight edge to the underseed and give it to Toyota on this one.
Crazy. All right, so setting up a second round match of Dragon Ball Z versus Toyota. Crazy. We have another play-in game in our 12 seed. I don't know why 12 seed always gets the play-in. Like I just don't understand it. It happens a lot. I feel like I don't know why I do that in this tournament. Cool. So the number 12 seed, Tyson, you have to decide between which quintessential anime of Naruto, One Piece, or Gundam Wing is going to win this play-in. And they get to go up against Godzilla.
Ooh, I mean, I just rewatched the whole first season or first series of Naruto, and I'm on to Naruto Shippuden.
Okay.
So I do have an affinity for some Naruto. However, One Piece definitely has Naruto beat. It's just going on longer. It's kind of its own whole thing. But I don't want to get into that argument. So I'm going to take the coward's way out, and I'm going to choose Gundam because guess what? I guess they are now finally going to take down the giant mech Gundam statue that works and moves and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they're taking it down. So in honor of Gundam and it being awesome, I'm going to give it the edge. It's always been a soft spot. It's the reason why I like giant mechs. And I was used to play giant mech games or whenever I could because I'd be like, I love Gundam. Gundam's so cool. My first exposure was Gundam Wing. And I definitely like that show, and it's a very silly show, but I love the heck out of it. So Gundam versus Godzilla.
Congratulations, Gundam. I know nothing about those animes, so I'll just defer to Tyson. So Gundam versus Godzilla, the G's. Who's winning the G category?
Oh, man, it's a tough one. This is a tough one. Gundam, pretty cool, but I have only watched Gundam Wing. The other ones are a little bit harder to get into. There's some good ones, but there's I was always told I was shunned because I'm a casual fan. I like Gundam Wing. I'm not into the seeds or the dot blah blah blahs or whatever. It's it's a little gatekeepery, but no, it's not gatekeepery. Godzilla. Everybody loves Godzilla.
Yep.
Even the crappy U.S. ones, not bad. It's
Matthew
it's
Broderick, that little girl from Stranger Things, Bryan
Hank
Cranston.
Azaria.
Bryan Cranston. They've all played with Godzilla at some point.
Yep. So you know what? I'm gonna give it to Godzilla.
Excellent.
Who doesn't love me some Godzilla or doesn't love some Godzilla? It's let's give it to them.
Yeah, that one movie with Aaron Taylor Johnson that you dislike of Godzilla. I will say I watched it in theaters. Godzilla in theaters with the big Dolby sound that shakes it. it's worth it. Actually, I saw the last Godzilla in Japan. Weirdly enough, in the downtown Godzilla theater. So, had a pretty Japanese experience that night.
Yes, yes. Well, and you watched, it was Japanese, so no subtitles. You just gotta watch the show.
I forgot what the other movie was, the other choice, but I just assumed it was a safe choice. I'm like, oh, there'll be lots of set pieces, destruction. No, that one, tons of characters. I was like, son of a gun. I think I figured it out, though. I should watch it again in English at some point. Okay, good job, Godzilla. How about the number 4 seed? So we have the, gotta catch 'em all, Pokemons versus the ancient art of sumo wrestling at 13. So between Pokemon and sumo wrestling, which one is better?
Sumo wrestling is a Japanese only, or seems to be only big in Japan. Not, I think there at one point was an American sumo league or something, but definitely a Japanese sport.
Yes.
However, I think Pokemon has just transcended. And everyone from like senior citizens to like kids like Pokemon. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's adorable. There's a character for everybody. I think encourages people getting into Japanese culture. So you know what? I'm gonna go with Pokemon just because it is such a behemoth. In this world.
I mean, as a 3 seed, that's a pretty powerful, 4 seed. That's a pretty powerful 4 seed in this tournament is Pokemon. Pokemon Go is still going strong. The game's released, they're a big deal. I went to Japan, Pokemon are pretty much everywhere. So, they understand it, they get it, and we get it as well. So, how about I think they're playing, we're a new bracket here. So we're going to go have the number 6 seed. So speaking of a kind of a quintessential anime from our past, Sailor Moon. I think she's kind of expanded and kind of went beyond, right? And is pretty culturally impactful, right? One of the first animes that we got here, probably before Dragon Ball Z, right? It might have been the first that a lot of people were introduced to. This product of Sailor Moon versus the number 11 seed. And maybe I should have started with this because we got a play-in game, guys. We got South Park, Fun Times with Weapons episode versus South Park, the Chimp Pokemon episode. So which of those is better? And if you were to compare one of those to Sailor Moon, would they upset her?
I gotta do the play-in seed first here. So we got Fun Times with Weapons. It's the probably one of the most accurate representations of anime from a U.S.-based studio. Yeah. Super funny. I mean, has one of the greatest theme song or like little songs that it plays ever.
And it's very quintessentially like this. It's just a bunch of Japanese words, and then randomly they throw in like "kick my balls." I mean, it's the opening of this song. It'll play at the end of the show. You'll just be like, "And you'll never give up." I'm like, why was everything in Japanese but never give up? That's weird.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah. Versus Chimp Pokemon, the spoof of Pokemon in the South Park world, which is a solid episode. But I think I got to give it to the edge to the Fun Times with Weapons because it's so funny. That theme song. Sometimes I just listen to that theme song on YouTube, just like, yes, this is what I need to do when I'm vacuuming right now.
That's fair.
So Fun Times with Weapons versus Sailor Moon. Unfortunately, I don't think that one episode and that funny joke and that theme song is strong enough to dethrone Sailor Moon. It's huge. And it definitely was. I want to say I think I watched Sailor Moon. I definitely watched Sailor Moon first before Dragon Ball Z because it came on first in the order it aired on YTV. Mm-hmm. And I always had a fascination with Sailor Moon. I've always thought it was really kind of like cool and a little edgy and oddly hilarious. So it's an adorable little anime, and I respect the hell out of it. So I'm giving this one to Sailor Moon.
Good job, Sailor Moon. I mean, think of even talk about our other show that's kind of going with this. Maybe we're done. I don't know time frames. Oh boy, I maybe got into something. But like we referenced Sailor Moon when we saw the Goblin Queen in X-Men 97 this year, right? So it's kind of one of those transcendent, like a girl swirls around and has a new outfit on. Sailor Moon. So yeah, no, I get that. Awesome. Good job, Sailor Moon. How about it's going to go up against battle here, a 3-14 seed. No play-in game though, but we have to decide the Japanese classic, really, the Wolverine, where you see Hugh Jackman in Japan fighting on a bullet train. Fights a samurai versus the number 3 seed Sushi. So what's better, Sushi or the Wolverine?
I do not mind the Wolverine the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little clunky near the end, I think, is where a lot of our complaints kind of came from. But I don't think the Wolverine has what it takes to dethrone sushi. One of my favorite foods. I could eat it every day if I could afford it, and I wouldn't gain 1,000,000 pounds. I love sushi. Saying the word sushi just makes me hungry some days.
That's where I'm at.
To
I'm at
me,
lunch,
to
so
me,
I'm
it's
like,
a
ooh.
treat. To me, it's a treat. I know it's funny. Even my boss sometimes will run out and grab some sushi and just eat that on his lunch because he sometimes has to like work a long day, so he'll go eat some sushi and like eat like stock up on some food, and you're like, that's never a bad choice.
Nope.
Never a bad choice, sushi. So you are the winner. I love me some sushi.
Yeah, awesome. Congratulations, sushi. So that'll be going up with Sailor Moon in the next round. And then finally, just our last two sets of matchups here. So we have the titular, if you read the podcast title, guys, we got Mystical Ninja. And it's going up against the ancient Japanese art of folding paper, origami at 10. So what is better, Mystical Ninja or origami?
Origami is very fascinating because, you can do all sorts of stuff like make a little swan or a rose or
A frog?
very,
Oh, the flips? Hey.
yeah, very relaxing. However, it's like, I love this game. This game, I think, was around the time we started getting really into Japan.
Yeah.
And this game definitely encouraged that. And I love this game so much. I think it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great time. Soundtrack's probably one of the best I've ever listened to. Like, I would argue this is kind of up there with like some Zelda's soundtracks because there's some songs you're like, this is amazing.
The dungeon themes in this are like top notch. They're exceptional. So yeah, I
Incredible.
agree.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna give this one to Mystical Ninja.
All right. Good job, Mystical Ninja. And then that just leaves our final bracket, the number 2 seed. It's got a show. We've got a play-in game. So let's get to the 15 seed. We've got the recently released, critically acclaimed Shogun TV series versus the recently released, critically acclaimed Blue-Eyed Samurai show. So between Blue-Eyed Samurai and Shogun, which of these two modern takes on Japan, feudal Japan that is, wins? And then they're going to go up against the number 2 seed, which is Hello Kitty.
Ooh. Well, we got Shogun and Blue-Eyed Samurai. Both really solid shows. One's animated, one's live action. I think I'm kind of leaning a little bit more to Shogun. It's the story. It's based on a true story, which I think Blue-Eyed Samurai is also based on kind of a true story. So like very, very tough call. I'm feeling Shogun a little bit more. Maybe it's because I like it. I don't really like the animation in Blue-Eyed Samurai. After an episode or two, you don't even notice it. Mm-hmm. But it's that cel-shaded CGI hits my eyes wrong.
Okay.
And Shogun's beautiful. Oh my goodness, just the cinematography. It's like, this show is just, you eat it up. Mm-hmm. It's filmed in Vancouver, so it's partly Canadian. Shogun, you're the winner of that play-in. So,
okay. Nice. So Shogun versus Hello Kitty.
Yeah, Shogun, you got a lot going for it. But it's Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Hello Kitty, but I know that it is a very Japanese thing. And it is super popular. I don't know if it's like a TV show or a movie or a game. I'm assuming it's kind of all of the above. But and it's cute characters. Like, I mean, you see that little cat and you're like, what adorable, adorable.
I also know nothing about Hello Kitty, but I know I saw 2 girls wearing backpacks this morning when they were walking down the street. So I was like, cool, Hello Kitty. Awesome, great. So congratulations, Hello Kitty. We'll go back up to the top of the bracket and we'll just summarize this up and then we'll figure out who's winning the bottom and then we'll talk about the final. So we've got the number 1 seed versus the number 9 seed. We have Dragon Ball Z versus Toyota. So what is better between Dragon Ball Z and Toyota?
Well, I do love a Supra, and I do like a Celica. But Dragon Ball Z, I think, is so massive.
Has a Vegeta?
Like, it is has a Vegeta and a Trunks, and a Goku, and a Gohan, and a Piccolo. And so many characters that I've grown to love, and even to a point where I think, and because Dragon Ball Z, we got such a Dragon Ball Z, like I can't even, like Team 4-Star.
Yeah.
Like their whole like little quick. I forget what's not abridged, is it?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z abridged.
Okay, and it's so funny. Like there's so many times where I just like bust out laughing, and it's like this show goes beyond just the show. Sometimes a car is just a car. And I'm gonna go with my heart on this one, so I'm gonna give the edge to Dragon Ball Z. It's gonna be a tough one to dethrone. Dethrone, that's for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll find out who plays it. With the 4-5 matchup, we have Godzilla, the worldwide phenomenon, versus the worldwide phenomenon that is Pokemans. So between Pokemans and Godzilla, who comes out on top in this one?
Dang, this is tough because I mean,
little monsters versus one giant kaiju monster.
Yeah, one of the coolest designed creatures ever.
Yeah,
and has so many different variations, and has awesome fire breath and stuff.
Yeah, but like what? But like Godzilla is also a character. You just have to talk about Charizard the whole time.
It's true. Or I could talk about like even a Mewtwo or a Mew, or those younger generations, and I'm gonna give the slight edge to Pokemon. I know it is the favorite here, but I actually started playing Pokemon Scarlet.
Oh yeah,
and I really like how that game's laid out because it's actually encouraging me to have a very diverse group of Pokemon, like lineup that I would have never maybe have had before. Cool. So awesome. It kind of opened my eyes that it's like sometimes you don't need to always just like, oh, I want a Gengar on my team, so I'm always going to have a Gengar. It's like sometimes it's a lot of fun just to experiment with new different Pokemon that you've never tried before, and who knows, maybe a Zubat's really cool or a Geodude's really fun. So I'm really enjoying it, and I think Pokemon just has such a plethora of characters versus just the one. Okay. Right. I know there is the extended Monsterverse with Godzilla, but I can really only name Mothra and maybe Mechagodzilla.
Rodan.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so that's fair. So Pokemon, 4 seed versus Dragon Ball Z. Who's going to the finals out of this top part of the bracket?
Dang. I do. Well, both these two won because of their strong characters. Mm-hmm. So let's go. I think I got to go with Pokemon.
Okay.
It's just because, for me, I think Dragon Ball Z is amazing. But GT was kind of and then
Super was meh. Yeah. And so it's like terrible, and
it's kind of hard to get into. Whereas I feel like there's so many different ways of accessing Pokemon.
Would you say that Pokemon keeps evolving and keeps you interested?
Yeah. Yes. Very clever. Okay. So we'll give it to Pokemon here.
All right. I'm glad you evolved Pokemon into our final rounds. So dropping down to the bottom part of the bracket, we'll wrap this part up. We have the number 6 seed Sailor Moon going up against the number 3 seed Sushi. And who's going to come out on top between these two fine combatants?
Damn it. Tough one, because I enjoy both of these two. But I think I got to give the slight edge to Sushi because I'm hungry. Saying sushi this much, I'm just like, all I want now for
it's 2:00. I don't have a lunch. I'm like, I'm definitely going out for sushi. So awesome, good job, Sushi. That no more need said. And then who are you going to play out of that one? So we have the number 7 seed Mystical Ninja going up against the backpack wearing, frog friend having Hello Kitty at number 2.
Yeah, I forgot she had a little frog friend. Yeah, I'm going to give this one to Mystical Ninja. I just don't know anything about Hello Kitty, and Mystical Ninja, we've played now 3 of the games, all 3 kind of games that we had access to, now that we've had access to.
Yeah, because we played Great Gomon prior, but not on this podcast yet.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give this one to Mystical Ninja. Love the soundtrack, love the characters. Didn't realize Sasuke was like the best.
Okay. So now I gotta ask: number 7, Mystical Ninja; number 3, Sushi. Are you more hungry, or is your mouth or your ears more hungry?
Oh, that's tough. You know, my stomach's growling pretty hard, so I'm just thinking of like a volcano roll or something delicious. Oh man, it's like, give me one of those ones. It's like they serve it on fire and then it goes out and then you eat it and it's just all melty, delicious cheese and sushi. You win. You're my favorite.
All right, so we have the number 4 seed Pokemon in the finals against number 3 seed Sushi. And Tyson, what is your favorite? So maybe not even the best, but I guess what is your favorite at this moment?
Oh man, at this moment, I'm leaning sushi.
Yeah.
Can Pokemon take this out? Got some great games. Got an okay anime.
Mm-hmm.
Got an okay movie or two. And some fun merchandise. But do I feel as satisfied playing Pokemon and watching Pokemon as I would after I'm going to eat some sushi later? I don't know. I don't think so. Sushi is this beautiful thing that it even makes me want to introduce people who've never had sushi.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, you need to try sushi.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if somebody's like, I've never played Pokemon before, I'd be like, or do you play video games?
Yeah, we could probably skip it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you play video games, maybe, or you're interested, maybe might be the first one. But maybe you're not a video game person. Everybody eats food. Everybody's got to try sushi at least once. It's so good. It's the best.
All right.
That's my choice. It's sushi.
Wow. So the lunch-fueled ravings of Podtendo podcast have brought you that the best thing that came from Japan is sushi. And if you're at home and you're hungry right now, you probably also would agree with us and with Tyson that sushi is phenomenal. So I hope that you guys go have your bellies full and enjoy. So yeah, cool. That wraps
Definitely.
up this podcast, this episode. We are done. I don't know exactly when we're back. We might be talking X-Men next time, if that works.
I think so.
Or we just talked X-Men.
And there's maybe a Final Fantasy game right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. So, yeah, so we're probably back. We're playing either our summer movie game combo or we're coming back at Final Fantasy 9, but we're out for today. Done talking about Mystical Ninja. And, yeah, we're probably talking X-Men all the time. So we've recorded this in the past, so we're not sure what's going on in the future. But, yeah, we'll leave that there. And did we miss anything?
No, I think I got to say James Bond at some point.
Okay.
But, yeah. No, I think we did a good job. Thanks everybody for listening, and hope to see you next time.
Okay, bye guys.
See you.
Chance. 頑張れそう